Welcome to This Is My Ride podcast, Bike Stories by Argon 18, where we match up our professional athletes with friends, mentors, competitors, and heroes for a conversation about training, living, racing, and about enjoying the ride. My name is Thue Herager. I'm sales director of Argon 18 Europe, and today it's a special podcast because we have Alexander West from Synergy ProTraining in Berlin. And we are going to have a conversation about the bike industry in Europe this year, and what the possibilities are for how we can actually make things work in next year also. With the brand Argon 18, we did two interesting podcasts already on the bike industry in 2021, but they're more globally and in North America. But for us, it's important to also see how things are in Europe, because there's no doubt that since we are the headquarters for Europe, things are not quite the same here as they are in North America and Asia, but we're still facing some of the same issues. So, welcome to you, Alexander. Nice that you would join us here for this small podcast.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
For us, it's important to have the clear conversation with the retailers that we are working with in our markets. Because these are the guys and girls on a daily basis facing the customers and the end consumers. And they are getting all the questions about where are my bike now, when can I have it delivered, and all that stuff. And since that's what this conversation is about, we're going to talk a little about what happened during these crazy last year and this year, and how to move on from it.
Yeah. So I think I'm in a also quite interesting position here, because I'm not a classic retailer, but I'm, as a bike fitter, mainly I'm in touch with a lot of people pre-purchasing a bike. So I get a lot of input, how the experience in the shops are, and what the market looks like if you're a consumer, because they report directly back to me. And so a lot of things changed, I think, in the last 18 months. So a lot to talk about.
Definitely. And we can start with what actually caused the situation first. And of course, we all know the pandemic situation with the COVID, which was kind of what sparked this in the beginning, and has given us a big shortage in bikes, both in complete bikes, in components, in wheels, in everything that we need to complete a bike. And that's why we're missing supply in all the links in the chain, actually. But what you see, Alexander, is of course that the customers you are fitting on a bike, they actually want to buy it, but they might not be able to do it.
Yeah, it really depends on if they want to, like, if they're really specific on one bike, it gets really hard. If they're more flexible, it's a bit easier. But like, there was an increase in demand, I think, already since 2017. There was like a huge increase in demand for my services. And I think it was about 35% a year. And last year it went nearly double, or like 50-60%. So,
yes.
I think cycling was on an upwards trend anyway. But
Yes.
The pandemic actually boosted it pretty hard, and that together with a lot of demand and problems in the supply chain due to COVID, it's a lot of challenge, and I don't think all the customers can understand, especially if they're new to cycling, why is that? And there's a lot of ways for retailers to to communicate with the customers about this. And yeah.
Yes, and I think you have a very important point here, because one of the reasons that demand has been raised is that a lot of newcomers has come into the sport, and since a lot of these new bike riders, they do not have a bike already, so when they go out and say, I want to do this, I want to be a bike rider, then they want a bike now. And since they don't understand the way that the bike business has been always, that your dream bike, you before the pandemic, you often had to wait 2-3 months, maybe 4-5 months on your dream bike. You know when it was coming, you order it in advance. If you were used to that,
the high-end machines, actually, it was normal to wait like 9 to 12 months. Like when they came out and like the first batch sold out, it was quite normal to wait 9 to 12 months. So
yes. But when you're not aware of that and you are starting in the sport, it's like everybody has bought a bike before, but that was maybe a commuter bike or something, and you just went down to a shop and you could just go in and say, okay, I like the red one. Can I have it with me now? Yeah, sure. And you can just take it out of the shop here. But on race bikes and road bikes, gravel bikes, triathlon bikes, all these things, it's a very different way to buy it, because it's not normally always on stock. And giving the huge demand and all the problems in the supply chains and even in production, then we see already now that we have a lot of bike stores that are almost empty. They have very, very few bikes in their showrooms, because they simply sold everything they had, and they had not had any new deliveries yet.
Yeah, we also now have a workshop where we service bikes, and it's like even hard to get like service parts right now, and a lot of people don't understand how that can be. But I think we both talked about it, that like even in other industries, like wood is quite a problem to get, and automotive parts. So yeah, COVID has an effect on every supply chain, and I think people need to realize that, and stay patient and also stay flexible in what you want to have and when you need it. So
yes, definitely. And the flexibility is definitely something, because you might have a big wish of a bike that has a specific configuration, but you might need to look at that and say, okay, but maybe I should go for another gear group or another wheel set or whatever, because otherwise I might not be able to have the bike delivered in the first place.
Yes, but I also see, like with the beginners, they start to research bikes, and they stumble upon magazines and on online magazines, a lot of reports, and a lot of stuff gets advertised, although it's not really available. So that's a problem. Or they find like old articles in the internet, and that stuff they look through, and they're like, okay, I think I like that, because buying a bike is also an emotional story, because there are many options, but in the end, I always say, like, first of all, a bike needs to fit, but on the second most important part is that it's a bike that you like and that you would love to have, because then you will ride it a bit more, and then you will have more fun, and components. It's always something you can change along the way, and you will change them, especially if you are a beginner. So the advertisement and like the stream of information coming in onto new customers, it's so much, and I need that's where I come in, because I give them advice what to focus on, and what options or parts are not as important to focus on, and that gives them a clearer view when they are searching for new bikes, and so they gain the flexibility to find the right bike.
Yes, and that is why we as a bike producer has a a very strong urge to be to have a really strong relationship with the retailers, because we are of course communicating to some extent with the end consumers here, but it is you that is asked about when, why, how, all these stuff on a daily basis. And for just for a short explanation is like the demand has caused, of course, that there is a shortage, but also since the factories of different kind of parts in all industries has been closed down for several months, that means that even down to the mines and everything that has to produce the raw material, we are lacking raw material for production of, for instance, wheels. We can see that we are building wheels in Europe here with DT Swiss wheels, and some of the alloy they need for the rims, they have had so many delays in just having the raw material into their factories. So as an example, we went from a normal lead time at 120 days to now we are up to 18 to 20 months from we order until we can expect delivery. And of course, if this happens to different components, then as a bike is a pretty complex thing to build. So it may be excess of like 20 to 30 different parts. And if there are delays on all these parts in different categories and in different timelines, then it is of course pretty critical for a bike producer to actually have all these components plugged together at the right time just to be able to build one single bike.
Yeah, and as you said, like with the raw material being rare right now, I know that like there are certain components, like certain crank lengths, that from what I heard, they are not like being produced until spring next year. So if I know like certain bike sizes will not be on the market because they don't have the right crank sizes, or I also saw like sizes with not the appropriate length for cranks on, because they just use what they have, which is also fine because then it's on the market. But if I know something like that, I will not suggest it to a consumer that wants to buy it within, like, let's say the next 3 months. Because, it's still possible to get a bike within 3 months if you are willing to sacrifice or maybe also pay a bit more. If you really want it, there's always a way to find something. Maybe if we have to change parts afterwards. But there's always workarounds, I think. And it's not like a lot of people wish they can order a bike and comes to them perfect, but it always has been the case that parts needs to be changed, and it's just the same now. Maybe it's just a bit harder to find the right parts.
Yes, and one thing is the production issues, the raw material issues, and then there's the case with the transport also. I think we were all laughing because we all saw a lot of posts on Facebook and Instagram with a picture from the Suez Canal with someone putting in a funny text about, but my bike is there on that ship which is stuck there in the middle of the canal. But the reality is that it is like that. There has been a huge delay in shipping components and bikes out of the East also, because it's not a secret that all frames more or less are produced in the East, and since the transport out of the East has been used for medical equipment, all these things has of course been prioritized. Then we could see that normally from we book a shipping out of the East, it takes like a week, and then the goods is on the ship here. But now when we book it, we can see that it might take up to 1.5 to 2 months before the goods actually gets onto the ship, because all the containers are being used. They need to be emptied before they can put in the new stuff and all that kind of stuff. So the harbors and everything are under pressure also. And all of these things makes the time from we have components ready, get them to Europe, build a bike for the final assembly and sending it out. All of these things has been, yes, of course, what causes these extremely long delivery time on products.
Yeah, you were talking about containers. It's not like we can produce more containers, because then we are back to the raw material where there's not enough. So it's not like we can just
exactly
pump out more containers and get parts over. But also you talked about assembly, and that's one thing I've been noticing is a lot of bikes that came in the last couple months, especially in the last 10 weeks, from some big companies that get assembled in Asia. The assembly is pretty bad, so it seems like they're also rushing things over there. Looks like they have pre-cut cable lengths or housing for especially the disc brakes. So we've seen a lot of oil within the whole frame, super long wires and cables, even too long for the highest setting you could have on the stem, and a lot of rattling. So a lot of bikes that actually need to be taken apart again once they're on the mainland, which also puts a lot of work on the shops again. And so assembly, it's good that you guys have assembly over in Denmark, because I know the assembly you do is quite good. It's really good. And if I get a bike, it's fine, and I can give it to the customer and it will work out well. But yeah, as I said, we've seen assembly from big companies that we know they were assembled overseas, that they have been rushed to being shipped out. Yeah. So
the other thing you touched before was something about the prices, because of course this also affects the prices. And as you said, somebody might be able to get a bike when they say, okay, I need to pay a little more. And for the component suppliers, we have seen, because there is a shortage in the raw material, and since they are fully booked in their production sites, then we've seen quite massive increases on some of the prices, also on the finished assembled bikes. And since we are in the higher level on some of the prices here, actually you can actually buy a bike which is worth more than a small up or whatever. So I think we've seen some bike brands also really kind of pumped up some prices also, probably because of a need, but of course in the end it will be the end consumer that is having to pay more for the bike than what they had to do 1 or 2 years ago.
Yeah, but I hope that it doesn't go that much more up, because right now I think we're on the border where cycling is accessible for a lot of people. If you look at the prices, let's say 5 years back, 2016, if you had 2,000 euros, you could easily get a carbon bike with Altigra, and now it's quite impossible to get one. And if the prices go up and up and up and up, and you have to pay 3.5 to get 105, that will make it even harder for people to get into the sport. I think a lot of people last year or this year got into because they didn't go on holiday, they didn't have time to spend or money in restaurants or in going shopping. So there was more money around. But we will also see the effects of the whole situation 2 years downstream or 1.5 years downstream. So if bikes are getting too expensive, this will probably will alter the group that can actually afford a bike and start cycling. And this is not like what I want to see. I want to see like road cycling, gravel cycling to be for everyone, that there's an option for everyone.
Yeah, that would be a big shame if people were ended up being excluded from the sport that we all love and that we can do on different levels, both on the equipment, but definitely also on the physical side of it. So that would be a big shame. I agree on that. Yes.
Yeah, and that's also where we go back to the media, that we should try to promote also that you don't need the high-end electronic group set or like the most expensive helmets and stuff. So if we can make it even more accessible, and then we can invest in the future, because the more people start cycling, they will at least cycle for the next 3 to 5 years, I would say. And hopefully they have kids, and kids start cycling, because with the youth, it's quite hard to find young cyclists at the moment, especially in Germany.
Yes.
And if more people cycle, like the parents cycle, then we get more kids. And so there's also a huge chance to form the market in the next decade, I would say.
Yes, I agree on that, because cycling is a sport for everybody. It definitely should be, and we should try to keep it like that. And that could actually bring me into something that we have been. We had to, of course, take some decisions on how to move on and to try not to just end having this situation going on for all 2022 and possibly 2023 also, because there are no signs that this shortage we have and we're facing now will actually end with this year, because when the shops are empty now, we are seeing a lot of the bike producers, they are selling already. They are sold out for the rest of 2021. Then, if their stocks are empty when 2021 is over, then we'll start the same in the same way in 2022. So we've also had to look at different options on how to try to work with that for next year. So one of the main things for us is actually to be able to bring in bikes with a shorter delivery time, especially for the first time users. So we decided in our markets to do all the CS level bikes as a complete bike that we'll store in Lynge, so it will be accessible on a very short notice. And then on the elite and the pro level, people are more used to it and can maybe better live with the delivery times that they have been used to. So we bought an excessive amount of stock in for next year, simply for us to be able to promise that we will be able to deliver some bikes in 2022 also, and better than that we've been doing so far in 2021.
Yeah, you also touched on experienced cyclists that are not getting the first bike, and right now I advise a lot of them to, if they still have a bike and the group set is still good, but they want a new frame for whatever reason, that it might be a good idea to get the frame and get used components you have. Because when I, for instance, buy a complete bike, I strip it down to like 70% because I change most of the parts anyway. So why buying a complete bike where I know that it will take like 6 months longer than getting the frame set? Because sure, frame sets are also rare, but it's not the biggest problem in the chain. So
no.
Yeah, and as you said, having pre-assembled and pre-configured bikes for beginners is also good, because that was a point I touched in the beginning, that it's not necessarily important to focus on each detail. maybe you have if you have bad knee problems or like hip impingements and stuff, then yes, it might be important. But for 80% of the users, pre-configured bike should bring you into a good fit window, and should get you on a good start, and we can work around with that. And it's just important to get on the bike, get your first rides in, get a feeling for stuff, and then work on from there. And as I said, cycling needs to be accessible, and then it also needs to be easy to understand, because right now the market is full of so many options and too many SKUs also, I guess, to handle for the companies. It's not easy. It's not an easy entry. And having an easy entry for beginners is also a way to get more people into it. Because I see a lot of the beginners, they struggle to buy a bike because they're overwhelmed. They could have had a bike 3 months ago if they just had focus on one thing and bought it. But they're so overwhelmed with all the stuff, and it keeps them busy in their mind that they don't buy the bike. And that's a problem I see a lot. And I get so many requests afterwards also. So that's also one thing that changed with the new customers. It's a bit more labor intensive, definitely. But as I said, it's a good invest in the future to get a good customer base for your shop, for your services, for, as I said, maybe the next decade. And I know most shops are doing well right now, but if we also want to do well in the next couple of years, we need to put in the work to have a strong community around the shops, and be honest, educate people on cycling and help them along the way. And then I think we can get a lot out of this situation also.
Yes, definitely. And as you say, you can also see that you've had in a lot of new customers in the past year, and I think that one of the reasons on that is that a lot of the newcomers, and we can say bless the internet because it's so good in many ways, but it has also this ability to, as a newcomer to anything, whether you're going for chess or bike riding, or you're buying whatever you need for your house, then you might get so confused because there are so many opinions, there are so many products, and the ones that you are asking, they tend to tell you about the product that they own themselves. So if you have a guy that owns a trek bike, for instance, then he'll definitely tell you that the trek bike is the best bike on the market. But that's why it is so important for having people like you that are kind of looking into it in a way where they say, I have to be honest with my clients here, and we have these options. So this real life advisory is actually what is so important in the whole bike business. And it is a business where we've seen over the years also a lot of both home pages, web shops, and physical shops also giving really bad advisory, since it's just like, oh, now I have this standing here, I want to get rid of it. Oh yes, of course you are size 58, even though you are 172.
I see that a lot. Like, as I said, there's a huge chance for shops, though not everyone sees it, and I still get reports from people visiting shops where I only slap my face and think, oh wow, they just messed up their cell. And it's so I really like my job, and I've seen a lot in cycling, and as you said, the internet can be a curse and a blessing. But I like not having too many brands attached to my company, only brands I believe in, and where I can honestly tell them that's a good choice for you. And if you have that, if you want to have that bike, I can help you get it delivered the way it needs to fit. And yeah, it's not easy, but being an advocate for cycling is also, I think, a lot of shops need to think about, and makes the market even healthier. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people are now realizing this, and also the customers are coming into the shops looking for this because, as you said, the internet is it's overloaded.
Yes.
And so
Yeah, and it's simply overwhelming. If you're starting with this, how on earth should you decide which crank length you should ride? It's like you have no clue, and I
yeah.
think that a lot of people actually end up being more confused than they get a clear idea of what they need.
Yeah, and also there's questions you probably don't need to ask yourself in the beginning. Like even if
Yes,
you get like 80% right, it will give you probably a pain-free ride for the next 6 months until you increase volume or you start
yes,
train properly. Then maybe you have to change things along the way. Maybe you have to visit a bike fit, but to focus on getting a bike in approximately the right size is the most important part still, and getting a bike that's appropriate for the rides you want to do, or at least
yes,
having one that's flexible enough to figure out what you want to do. That's really important, and I think that's where the shops can actually help with the knowledge, because we have a lot of also old shops with a lot of knowledge, and they are keen to share, and being keen to share is key, I guess, to building a good community or good customer base around your shop, and
yes.
also to create like a brand following, and because as I said, it's also emotions that we suffer.
It is. I think buying a bike is it is probably 20% head and 80% heart. It
Yeah.
it is it is something like that. But of
Yeah.
course, where we started, you also need in your shop, you need some kind of supply, because otherwise you can talk, you can explain a lot, and then you also have to have a bike ready for
Yeah.
someone in the end. So for us, yeah, we're looking definitely into an exciting year for the rest of this year, because we are having product coming in. We know we are still delivering bikes. We know that we'll do that for the rest of the year also, but definitely also for 2022, we are getting ready for that already. So yeah, we are looking forward to what is happening, because if you could be in this business and selling bike and saying that it's not a good time for the industry, then something is wrong.
Yes, there have been way
Yes,
worse times, I can say.
yes,
And most people also, if you give them a good contact to ask, and to inform them about bikes, and they feel that they are in the right hands, they are willing to wait even a couple of months longer, because they know they
yes,
get the right service. And this
yes,
also is good to, if you want to steer people away from buying direct consumer brands, because I know a lot of people think about it, but they are hesitant,
yes,
and they are willing to buy local if they have a good service around it. And I think
yes.
that's where each shop should try to improve, and also help cycling in general, I guess.
Yes, and that is you're putting the finger right at it, because this is definitely what we embrace as a brand here, because we really want the strong attachments from the bike riders to the shops here, because they know that they will be able to go somewhere with their questions, and if you just need to have your gears adjusted, whatever, all these small things that you as a good bike shop and a good mechanic, if you embrace that, then you'll have happy customers for many years to come. and definitely we embrace that.
Yeah. And as I said, I think with Argon 18 in Europe, we are on a really good way because, as you said, the supply is actually quite well at the moment in comparison to many others. The bikes are really good, assembled really good, and we can still offer options. So I'm happy to still work with Argon 18 and also in the future.
Yes, and we can, as a brand, say also that we are happy to work with you and with people like you that has this this just addition and putting their hearts and souls into the bikes and into the industry in the overall here, both on the training part and on the fitting side, and just creating this kind of community that we all love to be part of when we are out riding our bikes, because we ride bikes ourselves also, so we definitely know what it's about.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Alexander, for taking part in the podcast here. It was really nice to hear your view on some of these issues that we are facing now, and it's interesting to hear it from both sides, how things will be, how they are now, and how we see them in the future.
Yeah, and I think with both of us not being in our home country right now, it's a good sign that we are getting back to normal, huh?
Yes. I am sitting in Germany doing this podcast, and you are in another part of Europe also, so that is good.
Yeah. So definitely. Yeah, we're moving on and hopefully into a bright future.
Yes. Thank you for listening to this special edition of the Argon 18. This is my ride podcast. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe to it and share it as much as you want. Thank you.